Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayuta Mukhyam Shri Ramadutam Shirasa Namami Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Cha Janakatmaja Purato Marutir Yasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam Apadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham. Hare Krishna, welcome back. I missed all of your association for almost a couple of weeks. So we will continue from where we left off. I hope we remember. The scene is that Dasarath Maharaj has decried that Sita should not be subject to the rules that Ramachandra has been asked to follow of wearing tree bark while being in the forest and matting his hair with sap from the trees. And so despite Vasishta, despite other Brahmanas, everyone trying to persuade or dissuade Kaikeyi from making sure that her wishes are fulfilled, it has fell on deaf ears. So, and parallelly for Sita Devi, her decision to follow Ramachandra into the forest has not waned at all. So where we are beginning or where we are continuing from is 39th chapter in Ayodhya Kanda. And the curtains open. The scene is Dasarath Maharaj, who has now realized that there's no stopping of Ramachandra, Lakshmana and Sita. There is no changing of mind for Kaikeyi, laments very, very deeply. And he laments that he is getting the fruit of something that he must have done in his past. And so he says, Manye khalu maya purvam vivatsa bahavah krita. Manye, I think, or I consider, khalu, for sure, maya, by me, purvam, previously, vivatsa bahavah krita. I would have made or separated many parents from their children. Vivatsa. Vatsa is a child. Vivatsa means bereft of a child. And not one or two, bahavaha, many. I must have done that. And in additionally, I must have been so cruel-hearted. Pranino himsitava. I must have also perhaps been very violent towards other living beings. Api tasmad idam upastitham. And that is why such a situation has confronted me today. Some weeks ago, we discussed a parallel or a verse that we are very familiar with from Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma praying to Lord Krishna that whatever I'm receiving is the ripening of my karmic fruit, and I just have to patiently endure it while living and moving my heart, mind, and words towards you. So it's a very famous verse, Tatte Anukampam. Anukampam, I patiently wait for your mercy to help me endure and pass through this situation. So in that, Lord Brahma says, Susamikshamanaha bhunjana eva kritam vipakam. Bhunjana means I'm enduring. Evam, certainly or surely, kritam vipakam. Vipakna is to ripen. And kritam vipakam means whatever I have done is now matured. The fruit of it has matured, and I am facing it as a circumstance in my life. We are students of Nectar of Devotion. So put it in a Nectar of Devotion language. Something that I have done previously is sitting as Kuta and Bija as a Prarabdha Karma category. And that Bija and the Bija then matures into an experience or circumstance right now called Prarabdha Karma. That is called Vipakna, something that is maturing. And others should not tell us, or we should not tell others, oh, you're suffering because it's your karma that's very nicely maturing, although that is possibly the truth. From coming from someone else is difficult, but as practicing devotees, it is important that every situation in our life, we somehow find a way to say, oh, I'm sure that somewhere in some lifetime, somewhere in the past, I may have subjected others to this situation, and that is coming back for me. So Dasharatha is saying, Manye khulumaya purvam vivatsa bahava kritaha pranino himsita vapi tasmadidam upastitaha. So very quickly, then he orders Sumantra to bring the finest chariot driven by the best of horses. So in a kingdom, there are just in our household, we have different conveyances. Someone may have bicycles, someone may have a smaller car and an SUV or a bigger car. And you use different vehicles for different occasions, depending upon what you need to do. And so even in a kingdom, especially under Dasarath Maharaj, when the word chariot is used, it's not that it's all chariots are the same. There are certain chariots that are used for conveyance, going from one place to another. And there are certain chariots that are used to go to war. So the commentators describe that Sumantra was asked to bring a chariot that is a conveyance to take Ramachandra, Sita, and Lakshmana to the forest. Then he orders his treasurer to come in. And he says, listen, this is in presence of Kaikeyi, Kausalya, Sumitra, the 347 other queens, his ministers. He orders, my dear treasurer, bring right now all the garments, all the jewelry that are suitable for Sita, as if she's living in the palace here. And bring enough that will last her for 14 years. And Sita should wear them. Now, generally, most of us wear one set of clothes during the day, and maybe we change into night dress, which we don't want to come in front of anyone in that clothes, uh, because that's our night clothes. But queens like Sita Devi, they change their clothes according to the day part that they're and what occasion they're participating in. So you can only imagine for 14 years how many silk saris, and these silk saris are not the lighter ones, these are pure silk with gold and silver zari work, all the jewelry, and it's not just earrings and necklace, but nose rings, something for the hair. I don't even know what all. Keura for the armlets, bangles, waist. It's called mekhala. Then nupura, anklets, toe rings, etc. I mean, some of us have dressed the deities in the temple. And generally, when you take a plate that you take to the altar, it is filled with varieties or categories of jewels. All of that. So, side note is, imagine that Lakshmana had no luggage of his own. All he was carrying is bow and arrow, some weapons, a basket, and a spade. Ramachandra also had no other baggage of his own. The entire baggage was Sita Devi's clothing and jewelry. And that's why Lakshmana went along to carry them from one place to another as they were traversing through the forests. And as soon as Sita took off the tree bark and put on her royal garments with all her jewelry, this is the verse Valmiki says. Virajayat means she was effulgent. Virajayat Vaidehi Vesha Tat Suvibhushita. Suvibhushita means very beautifully, elegantly decorated. Udyatom Shutaha, Udyataha, that she looked like the horizon, Amshutaha, Udyata during the time of the rising of the sun, Kale, Kham Prabheva Vivaswataha. Just as it's about to be dawn and you see the first initial sun just peeking out of the lake or land, and suddenly the first vision of sunlight is so bright. That is how Sita was. She had illuminated the entire room, palace, just like the sun or the horizon is illuminated as soon as you see the sun rising. Now, some commentators say that Sita is effulgent and her complexion is molten gold-like. Same, Radharani is also molten gold-like, Gaurangi. Now, when she was wearing golden jewels on top of golden effulgent body, it's difficult to see the distinction of her skin from the jewelry. And therefore, they say that her body or her jewelry was studded with all sorts of gemstones. So then they add even more beauty. Now, generally, when you put on jewelry to a deity, first let's talk about putting on jewelry as a human being. When women or men put on some jewelry or decoration, most of them are to hide some defects, or if not to hide some defects, to enhance, to attenuate one's own looks and beauty. So jewelry actually increases the beauty of the person. But in the case of Sri Ramachandra, Sita Devi, Lord Krishna, Radharani, like that, the jewelry is put on to subdue the beauty, because otherwise people cannot see the beauty. So they put jewelry to hide or to subdue that effulgence. Or another way, it's called abhushana, because by putting the jewelry onto Sita Devi, the jewelry became beautiful. Similarly, when we sing Damodar Ashtakam, we say Lasat Kundalam. Lasat means to shine. Kundala is the earring. So the earring was shining because it was connected to or attached to the very charming and effulgent face of Krishna. Okay. So Sita Devi, who was like the sun who illuminated the entire sky at dawn, then was ready. So Ramachandra and Sita Devi walked up to Kausalya, touched her feet, and were ready to depart. So Ramachandra uh, is, before Ramachandra is there, Sita Devi, when she touches Kausalya's feet, Kausalya Devi picks her up and kisses her on the forehead. In some versions, they say, smell the head of Sita Devi. We see that in Bhagavatam, we see that in Ramayana. Um, and the gesture of smelling the head or kissing the forehead is a act of endearment. It is to show affection. And Kausalya then went on to talk about dharma and the chastity of a wife. So Kausalya said that in this world, there are two categories of women. One are fair weather wives, that when the wave is high, the going is great, they they um, they stand by their husbands. And when the going gets tough, or there is some distress or difficulty in the family, such women abandon their husbands. Okay, and she gives an example. She says that unfaithful women abandon their husband in times of distress. Okay, and that abandoning, she says, is that they forget that previously, before the distress came in, they may have enjoyed many good times, but unfortunately, that bad situation will not allow them, or they don't want to be with their husband in a bad situation. Now, because we're in America, or we're in the 21st century, I have to put a disclaimer. We're not talking about abused relationship. Okay, we're talking in sort of general words: financial crisis, disease, whatever. I know of certain women who have been with their husbands for many years. How much of a difficult it was, they've stuck together, and when the husband is bedridden, they are there by their side. How much ever difficult it is for them, somehow or the other, they're very dutiful. Okay. Then Kausalya says that when a woman carries malice in her heart, or her conduct is not orderly, then she becomes very perverted in her mind. And she loses the love for her husband in an instant. So one small thing, one situation can completely undo years and years of relationship that they may have had. And then she says that when such malice attacks, nothing can change the mind of the wife. It may be possible that she previously enjoyed that her husband comes from a very wealthy and well-cultured family. It's possible. But today, when that situation of distress or difficulty is there, all that goes off of the window. Or previously, he would have given her so many benefits of being with him. She may have received many benefits. All of that doesn't come to memory. She would have received so much education and wisdom by being with him or being in that family. That also becomes useless. She would have received so many gifts, and she doesn't consider all of that. Or up until that point, so much wealth would have been accumulated. She does not want all of that. She just wants to separate and go away. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhrama, smriti bhramshat buddhinasha, buddhinasha pranashati. Um, I'm not talking about a wife particularly, I'm talking about any person when they are dealing with this sense of unfulfilled need, or they are in a state of anger or disgust. Then Smriti Vibhrama is all the things in the past that had added to the development of the relationship just enters into or becomes obscure. That's what Kausalya is telling. And one just wants to end the relationship. Then she says, on the other hand, women who are free of malice and are fixed in their chastity find shelter in truth. They find shelter in truth, scriptures, stability in the idea of keeping things stable, and in their relationship with their husband. So these are the shelters. Truth means one should live with a broader context of reality. Yes, on a day-to-day basis, I am husband of somebody, wife of somebody, brother of someone, sister of someone, friend, all of that. But the grander truth is, I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the maintainer of gopis, Lord Sri Krishna. Then there is scriptures. It is very essential that whenever there is distress in one's life, one find, somehow draw themselves towards Shravanam and Kirtanam or Smaranam of scripture. Because scripture puts things in context and perspective in the grand scheme. Otherwise, the particular situation seems very big and the actual life seems very small. One should take one's mind towards the idea of stability, because when there is distress, things become unstable. And what does stability look like? What do I need to be on the other side of this situation? And what would it take for me to feel stable? And she says husband, because Sita Devi previously said that husband and wife are the best friends in this world, more than any other relationship. So Kaushalya is educating Sita Devi. And finally, she says to Sita Devi, please don't treat Ramachandra differently now because he doesn't have a kingdom. And up until yesterday, maybe you thought that he was going to be the king and you were all very nice to him. But now that he's not going to be a king, he's going to go away to the forest. Of course, he's taking you with him. Don't treat him any differently or any lesser. So Sita, who is very, very fixed in dharma and artha, which means so she knows exactly how to live her life in the most chaste form. So her name is Sita. So Sita quite literally means the tip of the plow. So when the plow is drawn on the ground, it creates a very fine line. And in that line, seeds are sown. And because it is being plowed on two sides, the dirt forms an embankment. So Sita means very, very acute and perfect in her behavior, especially being dharma, because Janaka Maharaj had told Ramachandra, she will be with you and is equal to you in following of dharma. So Sita Devi replies with folded hands, I will do exactly as you have indicated. And actually, you don't need to tell me the dharma of a wife, because I already learnt about it from my father and my mother previously. I have been brought up in a very, very cultured family. But I appreciate your points. And just as a little caution, my mother-in-law, that is you, Kausalya Devi, please don't equate me with unchaste or unfaithful women, because I may die, but I will not digress from the path of dharma. And she says, just as moonlight, Prabha, never leaves the moon, Shashi. As inseparable moon and moonlight are, so am I with dharma. And then she says, um, happiness from a father or mother or a son or a child, more generally, is very limited. But happiness from a husband is unlimited, as unbelievable as that is unlimited. So the commentators of Ramayana ask, what is the meaning of limited and unlimited? Limited means the father, mother, and child can give happiness that is constrained to this lifetime. After this lifetime, that continuation of relationship may not exist. However, I am the bearer of perhaps bad news that a dharmic husband and wife are together even in next life. So some of us may be worried that we are stuck with the same person again. Unfortunately, that is how it is, at least from a karmic perspective. So it's unlimited in the sense it goes from this life to the next life as well. So she says, how can I be anything but chaste to Ramachandra? Now, I have a concern that some of you might start asking questions whether I am going to find my husband again in the next life, or can I find my same wife again in the next life? Don't worry. The set of devotees that we are together with at our birthdays make sure that such a horrendous event doesn't happen again. So they keep telling us, may you never take birth again, may you never take birth again. So that problem is solved once and for all. Then Sita Devi quotes a very beautiful analogy, which Yamuna Jivana, if you can share that verse. This is from Ayodhya Kanda, chapter 39, verse number 29. And she says, Na tantri vadyate veena, na achakro vartate ratham, na pati sukham edheta, ya syadapi shatatmaja. So I'm going to share with you word by word. I think you'll enjoy this word. For couples, husband and wife, Yamuna Jina, can you put this in a present mode? Thank you. I think somewhere it says present. There's like a play button. If it's not there, it's not there. Don't worry.
I'm sure
I wanted to hide the. Yeah, I just wanted to hide the other slide. As on the top right side where it says present. Thank you. Excellent. So let's see if we recognize some words from this verse, and then we'll put them together. So first, of course, forget all the na. We all know what na is not. Veena from the first line. Okay. Veena is that instrument, a stringed instrument. In the second line, the more common word that we are aware of is ratham. Then in the third line, pati sukham. Okay. And fourth line, she says, shatatmaja. Shata atmaja means hundreds of sons, hundreds of children. So Sita Devi says to Kausalya, na atantri or na atantri vadyate veena. A veena without string cannot be played, or it makes no sound. Na achakro, na chakro, or without a wheel. Actually, it's not na achakro, it is na chakro. Vartate ratham. A chariot without wheels cannot move forward, cannot go. Na pati sukham edheta. Edheta means to grow. Uh, yes, ya syad, for ya means a woman who, syad api, has even hundreds of children. So generally someone may think that if they have hundreds of children or children, they'll be very happy. It is true. They can be happy. But Sita Devi is saying not without the husband. And she gives two analogies which are fantastic. So let's dive a little deeper. She's saying, just as a veena does not play without a string, or a chariot move without wheels, a wife cannot be happy without a husband, even if she has hundreds of children. Now, some of us may not believe Sita Devi, but that's what she says. And in the first line, there is a nice nuance. So this is for husband and wife or couples, that sometimes the husband supports the wife in certain situations of life, and in other situations of life, the wife supports the husband. And regardless of circumstance and regardless of who is supporting whom, they are moving as a unit, moving and sounding as a unit. So in the first line, she says, Na atantri vadyate veena. This is how a couple, I guess, sounds, if you will, but not how they sound together, but you get the idea. In this case, without a string, a veena cannot produce sound. But the string is supported by the veena. So here, Sita Devi equates the wife to the veena and the husband to the string. So the wife, if she cannot support the husband as a couple, they cannot make music. And in the second line, she says, Na achakro vartate ratham. She equates the wife to the chariot and the husband to the wheel. And in this case, the wheel is supporting the chariot. So without the wheel, the chariot cannot move. So the couple as a unit cannot move through life if the husband cannot support the wife. So in one case, the husband is supported by the wife. In the other case, the wife is supported by the husband. And so for a woman, yeah, even if she has many children, without pati sukham edheta, without the flourishing of happiness between husband and wife, life cannot be either musical or moving. That's the verse. So thank you for sharing the slide, Yamuna Jivanapura.
Oh, you're welcome.
So then Kausalya, just hearing Sita's words, burst into tears. And she becomes so joyful that she embraces Sita Devi. That what an amazing woman, what an amazing personality Sita Devi is. So then Ramachandra turns to Kausalya and tells her, please don't cry. 14 years will pass away like a flash. You won't even notice it. And I'll be right back standing here with you. In fact, 14 years will pass away like a good night's sleep. Whenever, I'm not one of those persons, but those who can sleep very nicely, deep sleep beyond the dream state, it's called Sushupti. Of course, there are grades of Sushupti. One Sushupti is what we sleep at night and we open our eyes and we like wonder, oh, it's already time to wake up. It's morning time. Oh, I didn't even notice how well I slept. That is one Sushupti. Another Sushupti is death. So that sleep no one gets up from. And Prabhupada says that that sleep is so elongated that when one goes to bed in one body, they open their eyes in another womb altogether. But in general, one good night's sleep, you cannot sense the passage of time. Ramachandra says 14 years will pass away without your knowing. Then here is the classic Ramachandra style of behavior. Ramachandra then turns to all of his 349 other mothers, including Kaikeyi, and with folded hands begs for forgiveness, saying, if in all these years I have ever offended you unknowingly, or if I have spoken something out of familiarity, because you're all my mothers, and as a son I may have said or done something that you may not have liked, and if I've done so out of that familiarity, please forgive me. And that's it. They immediately burst out crying. Valmiki says, like a pack of herons. So when you disturb them, they all cow, 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 and they loudly shout and fly away like a pack of herons. Then they burst into crying. So when I was studying, I wondered why Ramachandra turned to all these 350 queens and had to say what he said and do this. Of course, he's just Ramachandra is very, very pakka about etiquette, behavior, giving respect to elders. That's definitely the case, and it's joyful to see it. But from a rasa perspective, just these words open up in their hearts this very severe pangs of separation, because he incited, he took their vatsalya prema to the highest stages of angst or anguish in separation. So the entire Dasharatha's, Valmiki Muni says, Dasharatha's palace is filled with cries and people using words, ha, ha, we say ha, ha, kara. Alas, alas, that's all you could hear in the palace. While previously, all you could hear in Dasharatha's palace was fantastic music, joyous, celebratory drums, gongs, flutes, strings, percussions, just wonderful orchestra of very, very pleasing, joyful, celebratory music. Now everyone is crying and yelling out and crying and shouting, alas, alas. So that's what ends chapter 39. Then chapter 40, Ramachandra and Sita Devi touch Dasarath Maharaja's feet, Kausalya's feet, they circumambulate them. Lakshmana also follows suit, he circumambulates Kausalya Devi, and then they are ready to go. Lakshmana turns to Sumitra Devi, touches her feet. She lifts up Lakshmana and kisses him on his forehead, and then she speaks. Now, interestingly, Kausalya is crying piteously that her son is going away. Kaikeyi is very anticipatory that her son will come and occupy the throne. Sumitra, her reaction is completely different. Okay, she says, to Lakshmana, Srushtatvam Vanavasaya Swanuskrita Sahujyate Rame Pramadam Na Karshati Prabhur Bhratri Gachati. She shocks everyone by telling Lakshmana, Surushtatvam Vanavasaya. Actually, you were born or you were created to go to the forest. So happily go. And remember one thing. Rame Pramadam na Karshati. Na Karshi, sorry. That while you are serving your brother Ramachandra in the forest, Don't become negligent in your service. Okay. Putra bhratari gacchati. Go, oh, my dear son, go along with your brother. She is one detached mother who is so grounded and fixed in service that she's shocking. So she says other things. So I'm going to read to you what other things she says, and then we'll sort of um, dwell a little deeper in her very amazing words. She says, Vyasani va samruddho va gatiresha tavanagha. O sinless one, Ramachandra is your shelter in all circumstances of life from here on. Esho loke satam dharme yajjeshthavasho bhavate. And you should always be obedient to your brother, because that is what virtuous people do. They are very dutiful to and faithful to their superiors. Then she says, idam hi vrittam uchitam. This activity that you are doing is the best thing, and it befits the great race that you are coming from. Kulasyasya sanatanam. For ages, all the forefathers in the Ikshvaku dynasty have lived by this principle. And it is Danam Diksha cha Yagyeshu Tanutyago Mrudheshu cha. That these great kings are always dutiful. They will never fail in charity. They will never fail in their initiation and the vows they take at initiation for performing their yagyas. And they will never fail in performing their sacrificial duties for the benefit of others. So happily go. Do not have any reservations about leaving me or anything. She says, Lakshmanam Tveva Mukta Sa Sansiddham Priya Raghavam Sumitra Gacha iti Punaha Punaruvachatam. And she didn't say, everyone else said to Ramachandra, please don't go, wait. And Sumitra says, Gacha iti. Again and again she said, go to the forest with Ramachandra. And then the final words of instruction she gives Lakshmana is, Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi. Thank you. Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi. Know that Ramachandra is Dasharatha for you. From today, your father is Ramachandra. Mam Vidhi Janakatmajam. You consider Janaki, the daughter of Janaka, Mam, as if she is me. That means your mother is now Janaki. Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi. The forest is Ayodhya for you now. Gacha Tata, my darling, my little wonderful son. Gacha Yatha Sukham. Happily go. So the greatness of Sumitra is that I'm going to take you back to Balakanda, when Dasharath Maharaj was distributing the sweet rice. He gave to Kausalya, and then gave a little to Sumitra, and then gave to Kaikeyi, and then gave again a little to Sumitra. So Sumitra got the sweet rice twice. And neither of the queens objected to it, because Valmiki uses the word that she is Mahamatim. Mati means mind or mental faculty. Mahamati means she is a very, very acute, keen, and super intelligent woman. And he doesn't say anything more than that. And we have to figure out why she is Mahamatim. And it shows up here. Among his queens, we always hear of these three: Kausalya, Sumitra, and Kaikeyi. Now, Kausalya is a descendant from the Kosala Raja. Her father and forefathers are very, very famous people. Kaikeyi comes from the Kekaya kingdom, which is also again very famous lineage, great kings. But nowhere in Ramayana do we hear Sumitra's lineage. She's just there, Sumitra. But she is considered to be the most intelligent among his queens. And what we are about to hear identifies or elaborates why. So let's consider her name first, Sumitra. We know in Sanskrit when you add a prefix su, it means very or intense or decorated or beautiful or enhanced. And Mitra, we know what tra means. And I'm sure we say it to so many people, mantra, manah trayate iti. So tra means to remove or to dispel. And the word mit means darkness. Therefore, some persons have the name Amit. Amit means one without any darkness of ignorance. So Mitra is a name for sun, Surya Deva, because he, by his rising, removes darkness and removes the darkness of ignorance, removes the darkness more on the physical side and the internal side as well, because he shines light in the heart, Mitra. And therefore, a person who can give us good advice in the time of need and dispel our darkness is considered a friend, Mitra. And Sumitra means very intense or the best friend. So her name, by her name, she is known as the best friend. So when she says this instruction to Lakshmana, there is a direct meaning, which I explained. Ramam Dasaratham Vidhi. From today or from now on, consider Rama to be like Dasaratha. He is your father. Take all instructions from him. Mam Vidhi Janakatmaja. Sita Devi is your mother, or consider her to be like me. So take all instructions from her. And wherever your mother and father are with you, that is Ayodhya for you, although it is a forest. Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi. Gachatata Yathasukam. Happily go, there's nothing to worry about. There is there are three other meanings. There is a dharmic meaning. And the dharmic meaning is where you look at the first line and the first half of the second line. Ramam Dasaratham Vidhi, Mam Vidhi. So she says, consider Ramachandra to be like Dasharatha, consider me to be Janaki, or consider Janaki to be me, and consider Ayodhya to be the forest. So it is to say that Lakshmana, if you compare Ramachandra and Dasharatha, then you will notice that Ramachandra is superior to Dasharatha. And Sita is superior to me in terms of being your well-wishers. So Dasharatha and I are your biological parents. But Ramachandra and Sita Devi are much superior to that. They're your spiritual parents. And they are your true well-wishers. And the forest is superior to Ayodhya because in Ayodhya you would enjoy physical comforts for your senses. But in the forest, you will get the joy of service. So in Ayodhya, you would be the prince of the kingdom. In the forest, you will be the prince of the kingdom of service. So happily go, you're not losing anything. In fact, you're gaining much more. Then there is a plot, right? Ramayana is a story. So there is a meaning from a plot perspective. Ramam Dasaratham Vidhi. She is warning Lakshmana. Dasharatha listened to his wife to fulfill her wishes. Just know, Lakshmana, that Ramachandra will also listen to his wife's wish or desire and fulfill that. Ramam Dasaratham Vidhi. And Mam Vidhi Janakatmaja. I'm ordering you, go away. This Sita will also order you, go away. Right? When Ramachandra pursued Maricha and then he said, hey Sita, hey Lakshmana, she told Lakshmana, you're hearing your brother's voice, go away. So Mam Vidhi Janakatmaja, she's also going to tell you to go away. Then there is a worldly meaning. And the worldly meaning is Ramam Dasaratham Vidhi. As soon as you three leave Ayodhya, Dasaratha is going to die. He's going to be separated from his wife, me, Sumitra. He's going to be separated. Similarly, Ramachandra is going to be separated from his wife. And Mam Vidhi Janakatmaja, I will be bereft of my husband. And Sita Devi will also be bereft of her husband. And Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi is just the way Ayodhya is now going to become a place of despair and sadness and pain and sorrow. That same forest will also become a place of despair and pain and sorrow. And finally, the most important is the spiritual meaning. Ramam Dasaratham Vidhi. In Sanskrit, the word Dasha means bird or Garuda, and Ratham is chariot. So Dasha Ratham means one whose chariot is a bird, Garuda. Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi. O Lakshmana, I'm letting you the secret that this Ramachandra, who seems to be your brother, is actually not your brother per se. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi. And the Sita Devi, who seems to be his wife, is actually his eternal consort, Ma. Mam Vidhi Janakatmaja. We discussed the word Ma because Madhavi means or Madhava is the husband of the goddess of fortune, Ma. And in the beginning of Ramayana, when we were discussing the very initial verse of Ramayana with Valmiki's curse, he says, Ma Nishada Pratishtantam. So that Ma is the internal potency, the eternal consort of the Supreme Lord. So she says, Ramachandra is the Supreme Lord, Sita Devi is his consort, Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi. Wherever the consort and the Lord are together, Sita and Ramachandra, Lakshmi and Narayana, Radharani and Krishna, wherever they are together, even if it is a forest, Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi. Yeah, it's like Ayodhya. You're in the spiritual world. Although you may be in the forest with wild animals and Rakshasas and a whole bunch of tormenting, because they are together and you are with them or they are with you, you're living in the spiritual world. Such a wonderful instruction for us as well. If we can hold on to the feet of Sita Devi and Ramachandra, then even in a forest-like life, we will experience the spiritual world or the presence of the spiritual world. We're living in the spiritual world. So these are the 5 meanings of that verse. I skipped one particular one. I'll say it. Earlier when she says Srushtatvam Vanavasaya, the word Vana in Rig Veda means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Vanavasaya means you were created or you were born to always be with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So my favorite verse and section of this section of Ramayana is Sumitra's instructions where she says, Ramam Dasaratham Vidhi, Mam Vidhi Janakatmaja, Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi Gachatata Yatha Sukham. This verse I'm sharing with you, or Valmiki shared with us, so that whenever we are in any difficulty, distress, calamity, whatever circumstance of life that we are in, and it is very, very difficult or joyful, holding on to the presence of Sri Ramachandra, so Sita Devi and him in our life, means we are actually living in or experiencing the spiritual world even when circumstances seem very difficult and challenging and really, really tormenting. Okay, so let's see if there are any comments, concerns, questions, objections, or any insights, realizations.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, this is Chaitanya Rasa. The question I had was, I know we talked about Sumitra Devi. Was she, kind of an, should I say, like how gopis for Krishna, was she something like that to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the previous life?
Gopis? No, she's a mother.
I mean, in the sense, I'm not getting the right.
Does she eternally have a paternal relationship with Ramachandra?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I.
Although no reference is given, but we understand that what happens in the spiritual world is manifest in the material world.
Okay.
So it is safe to assume yes.
She did have a maternal relationship.
Yeah. The beauty of Sumitra and Lakshmana is that throughout the Ramayana, you never hear about them.
Yeah.
And the glory of Lakshmana is that he's always playing second fiddle or playing this role of an assistant. So you never see him in limelight. And that is the hallmark of a devotee. That the devotee will never be in the forefront or take away any glory from the Lord, or never sort of eclipse the glory of the Lord. Will always be serving in such a way that the Lord and his consort are fully on the front for everyone.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. This is Kirti here.
Yes, Kirti, Haribol.
When you were talking about Sumitra's groundedness, I was reminded of Suniti, how she sends off her son Dhruv Maharaj to forest. She was pretty steady there. She knew that's the only recourse.
Right, and take her name, Suniti. Niti means morality, and Suniti means one who's very, very clear and of intense morality. And her co-sister's name was Suruchi. Ruchi is enjoyment. So Suruchi means she's all into enjoying kingly and royal benefits. Bhagavatam has excellent names for all these people.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, this is a very wonderful narration, and I'm realizing that not only Lord Ram, but all other these lady characters, they are all heroes, basically. And I was thinking, Prabhu, that now we see, like in ourselves, as well as able to see in others because of that fault-finding tendency, that qualities are deteriorating so much under these relationships. Like I'm seeing daughter-in-law and mother-in-law and husband and wife and brother and all that. So I was just contemplating whether it is only effect of time, or it is devotees are trying from their own side. They really want to be on a very nice platform for pleasure of Guru and Krishna, but still it's very hard for them to get through. Daily, it feels like failure for myself, speaking for myself. So is it the effect, mainly the effect of time, or something lacking at my side?
Well, in the 12th canto, Shukadev Goswami tells Maharaj Parikshit, Tataschanudinam dharma satyam kshaucham kshamadaya, right? All these qualities. Kalena balina rajan nankshati. It's the power of time. Kalena balina rajan. Nankshati means becoming reduced or diminished. Ayuhu balam smritihi. So we say the time factor takes things from good condition to deteriorated condition. So everything that is material in this world, including the material quality, so gross and subtle body, both are material, are influenced by time. And devotees, or the process of bhakti, is to disconnect us from the influence of time. And therefore you will see that these greatly spiritual personalities, because their qualities are so spiritualized or spiritual, that regardless of time and place, they will always manifest those qualities.
Right.
For those whose qualities are materially still influenced, which is, let's say, a person like me, we are limited by time and space. I cannot manifest kindness in all places. I cannot manifest kindness in all times. Certain times are more favorable for me to be kind. Certain times are very unfavorable for me to be kind. I think of myself, or I cannot be kind. In fact, I'm cruel. In all places, I cannot be.
So main thing to practice is do our sadhana properly, read from scripture, like that you would recommend, Prabhu?
Yeah, the idea is to be spiritually situated so that time and place don't affect how we express or serve Krishna. Same principle is used in the beginning of Bhagavatam, ahaituki apratihata.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Now you were saying about the names from Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as Sumitra, Suniti, Surichi.
Yeah.
Yes, because the name has been given like that. Their characters are like that, or they predict before, like how they will be. Accordingly, they are giving the names.
Yes, the latter.
Oh.
In Ramayana, it said, no, why they were given the names Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna. When Gargacharya is naming Krishna and Balarama, he tells the reason. Everyone gets the name according to their natures. So you are enlightened being. Your name is Jyotirmaya.
No, I can say for my son Vachaspati, I know when he was young, you told he's keep on talking, then you said like you have kept that name, you cannot expect him not to talk. So, I mean, in Srimad Bhagavatam, the names are like, great acharyas, they predict and they are doing. How come in the Kali Yuga like that? But for him,
because in Kali Yuga,
he's like that.
90% of astrologers are only 40% accurate. They can't tell. It's that's why when a child is born, they do Jata Karma. When Srila Prabhupada was born, they did Jata Karma, and the astrologer said, oh, he's going to open 108 temples fearlessly. His name became Abhay Charan. Because he's taking shelter of Lord Vishnu's feet and doing what he is doing.
So what about for our son? We kept the name. We didn't know that. So how come it's related? That's why I'm really wondering how it's happening.
You're a special personality. Vachaspati is very special. Somehow it happened that way. If you and I were talking separately, I would have cracked more jokes about Sridhar Sachisuta, but I'll keep quiet now.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, in our cases, my father named me Nachiketa. Oh boy, I don't even have a mustard seed worth of interest or eagerness or any of the qualities of his determination to go meet Yamraj. All I think now is my father named me Nachiketa because he knew someday I will meet Yamraj. That I know. So that one I know. That's confirmed. And then my spiritual father gave me a name, Nityananda Pran. I mean, how many lifetimes I got to work on fulfilling that purport of the name. I mean, but it's a project I'm working on.
Prabhu, your spiritual jokes are very hilarious.
All right. Any other questions, comments from today's, or any discussion from Ramayana previously? Anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Paramapradhan. Please accept my humble
Hare
request.
Krishna.
I was thinking about how Mother Sita was patiently hearing Mother Kaushalya speak about what she already knew from her great heritage. So typically in the material world, when we know something and somebody, either superior or maybe a manager in the office, speaks something, the tendency is to think that, okay, I already know, don't just keep on speaking on that, or don't belabor. So I was wondering what kind of qualities we can aspire for so that we can be following in the footsteps of Mother Sita, so that we can appreciate the wisdom and the instructions that are coming down from the higher authorities, and try to focus on the deeper import of those instructions rather than thinking that I already know.
See, Paramarupa, some people are nagging. They say the same thing again and again and again, and it's annoying. Okay. I used to joke that when a wife is nagging again and again and again, I used to call her Nagamani because she's nagging like anything, and she's the crest jewel of nagging, so she's Nagamani. And if a husband is nagging like anything, we call him Nagapati. You know. Now in this case, Kausalya is not like that. Kausalya is not like that. She's not a nagging woman. She, as the queen and as the mother-in-law, I guess, or the mother for Sita Devi, is giving good instruction. And Sita Devi says, "Thank you for sharing this." And I already learned it from my parents, which means it's an indication that I come from a very cultured family. So to take that and put it into a work situation necessarily may not always translate, because if your boss is either a Nagapati or a Nagamani, it's kind of annoying. But some things, if there can be the openness to learning, okay, there may be something of value here, even if it is, in 2 hours of speech, 30 seconds of value, still is helpful. So it depends. You have to take situation by situation and circumstance by circumstance. Because the same Sita Devi who said like this also told Ramachandra, Jamataram Stri Purusha Vigraham. She let him have it. So personality is full of variety. Sita is not always the docile, trample on me and I'll sit quiet types. Oh no, she's a very, very powerful lady. And she will let people have it. But her but she never digresses from or even deviates even a fraction from the path of dharma. So even in speaking like that to Ramachandra is completely within the boundaries of dharma for her. So I don't know if I answered what you were asking, but I hope.
Thank you very much, bro. It's helpful.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Krishna Premadas.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for such a very enlightening class. I have one question, Prabhu. Prabhuji, when you were talking, there is one thing stuck my mind from my class in the childhood. So we had a Hindi book. In that there was one author, Maithili Sharan Gupta. So he was married. Probably you might have heard about him. So his topics were mostly like the people who were not glorified in the past. So one character I remember, like the Lakshmana's wife, Uttara. So obviously
Lakshmana's
Lakshmana,
wife is Urmila.
Urmila, sorry, Prabhu, Urmila. So we see glorification of the obviously the lordships and Lakshmana. But is there any in the Valmiki? Is there an glorification of such character, such people also? Like in one sense, Urmila also sacrificed for 14 years. She wasn't with her husband. From her point of view, it is a great sacrifice. Is it the right way to understand? And
Yeah, absolutely.
is there a glorification about her? If yes,
In
means,
Valmiki Ramayana, no. Valmiki Ramayana, no. And in one sense, we can say that it goes with the spirit of Lakshmana. That Lakshmana does not like any of attention to come to him or his wife, because they're both so grounded and steeped in service to Sita and Ramachandra that they don't want any attention coming to them. That's one way of taking it. But Valmiki does not say anything about Urmila.
Prabhu, another question. At some time, if you could, I think sometime in one of your lecture, I heard the Ramchandra's life and the Krishna Lila and Ram Lila. So the Ram Lila is more, it's comparable to or more of the lessons that we could take from Ramayana. But whereas in Krishna Lila, whatever Krishna did, that is not at least humanly possible for anybody. So is it like more Krishna is performing, being the Supreme Lord, those pastimes which are in dreamest also one cannot think of. But whereas in Ram's, there are always a lot of, in society also, a lot of messages they give from, okay, Ram did this way, you should do this, something like that. So how do we understand these two diagonally opposite pastimes?
Well, three different things. One, the Supreme Lord, there is nothing that the Supreme Lord cannot do. So if he is the most obedient and person who's extremely operating extremely within very confined rules of dharma, that same personality on the other hand can break everything seemingly as if he's not following dharma, which is not the case, but that's how it looks. So between Ramachandra and Krishna, totally different. You know what is when we were younger, suddenly it occurred to me because my brain is full of trash. There was a movie called Ghar Mein Ram Gali Mein Sham. So what one at home he's like this, out there on the street is like. So one commentator says that Ramachandra is that personality who before going out will check his wallet if he has a driver's license, the insurance is there or not, is everything perfect, the car is proper, has the license tag, only then he will drive the car, otherwise he will not drive the car. Krishna will drive without a license, without anything, without a helmet, and work his way through. Okay. So the point is that there are variations or facets to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So on a more serious note, Ramachandra, or we are supposed to do what Ramachandra did. And we are also supposed to do what Krishna said. We can't do what Krishna did. Okay. In the case of his advent as Ramachandra, he follows a certain code of conduct, because he says, Atmanam Manusham Manye, I am human being. So a human being cannot violate dharma. A human being cannot think himself greater than dharma. But nowhere in Krishna's advent that Krishna says, Atmanam Manusham Manye. In fact, he says, Mudhasta. So those who think of me as a human being are actually foolish. Yeah, they get deceived by my human-like form. So he's manifesting his full godhood, seemingly in human-like form. Ramachandra is also God, or the Supreme Lord, but very much within the boundaries and confines of human or humanity. All right, Krishna Prema.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
All right. Any other final one question? Otherwise, we'll.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mahati.
When Vishwamitra comes and asks Dasharatha to send Rama, that time also Lakshmana wanted to go with Rama, right, Prabhuji? That time also did Sumitra Devi encourage him to go?
No. I don't know if Sumitra Devi convinced him to go or said to go. In fact, Lakshmana didn't even say, I want to go. When he said, I want to take Ramachandra, Dasharatha said, Lakshmana, you should also go with him.
But this time...
This is 14 years banished. That is 10 days on a vacation with, retreat with Vishwamitra. Not the same.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. If no other burning question, thank you. It was wonderful to be with all of you. Until we meet again. Hare Krishna. I will leave you with this verse, especially for those who are married, about that na tantri vadyate veena, na chakro vartate ratham. If you can, I can make sure I can send you the verse. It's a fantastic cornerstone of how couples can guide themselves through life, such that they move and sound, move without obstructions and sound, I guess, beautiful together, like the veena. And the inspiration is Sita Devi's, I guess, instruction, or Sita Devi's her own meditation. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.